Shocking truth, my son's wedding was yesterday. But you won't believe what came next. It was meant to be the perfect day, a fairy tale made flesh, until everything spiraled into chaos. As the rain poured down, desperate cries echoed from the blushing bride's dressing room, where hidden secrets threatened to unravel everything. Laughter turned to shock as my son, David, stood at the altar with his wide eyes, thrumming with anxiety, his hands trembling around the ring that had suddenly felt like a weight of guilt. The guests shifted uneasily in their seats, whispers buzzing like a swarm of angry bees. One glance at the bride, Emily, and you could see at the flicker of dread in her eyes, a ghost of uncertainty haunting her smile, but it wasn't just the bride's frightful expression that sent shivers spiraling down everyone's spine. It was the presence of an unexpected guest cutting through the air like a dark cloud. An unfamiliar figure appeared, drenched from the storm, standing at the edge of the venue's sprawling lawn like a shadow from a horror film. He looked disheveled, wild-eyed and agitated, as if he had run straight out of a nightmare. And just as David caught sight of him, time seemed to freeze, that piercing gaze locked onto my son, igniting a chilling silence that swept through the crowd. What was his connection? What business did he have at my son's wedding? Murmurs rippled among the guests, brows furrowing, fists clenching. Fear hung thick in the air, heavy and suffocating, tightening around my chest. David stumbled, losing his footing, and my heart dropped. What was happening? A muffled gasp erupted as Emily turned pale, and the wedding planner flailed about, trying to regain some semblance of control in an unraveling event. Just when I thought it couldn't get worse, the figure raised a trembling hand, pointing directly at David. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The tension shot through the air like a lightning bolt. My heart raced, pummeling in my chest. David's face turned white, panic washing over him like a tidal wave. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. I glanced at the guests. Their faces were a kaleidoscope of shock and confusion. This stranger was no mere surprise. He was a storm that threatened to uproot everything. My mind raced, scrambling for answers. Who was he? What could he possibly want? Then, as if sensing everyone's collective dread, the figure stepped forward, and a name emerged from his lips, cutting through the storm. A name that sent a shiver down my spine and ignited a firestorm of questions in the minds of everyone present. I could feel the air grow thick with anticipation, tension crackling with each second that ticked by. We were teetering on the edge of an epic revelation, one that threatened to shatter everything we believed. What was he about to say? Would our lives ever be the same after this moment? The air grew electric. The stranger's voice, hoarse and ragged, sliced through the tension, leaving everyone hanging on to his every word. David, you need to remember, he urged, his eyes darting wildly, you don't know the truth about her. A gasp rippled through the guests. Some exchanged nervous glances, others clutched their seats as if they were holding on to the last thread of sanity. Emily's hands flew to her mouth, wide eyes filled with disbelief, while David blinked, confusion and fear etched onto his face. I felt myself slipping into a haze of panic. What truth? Did he mean Emily? I couldn't breathe. It felt like the walls were closing in, the music had stopped. All that remained was the rhythmic drumming of rain against the windows, punctuated by the chaos of human emotion, shock, betrayal, and fear swirling around us. I wanted to shout, to demand answers, but my voice had abandoned me, lost in the pandemonium. Who are you? David finally croaked, voice trembling, tearing his gaze away from the figure as if hoping to wake from this terrible dream. The stranger took a breath, his energy shifting from wild to something more solemn. I'm someone who knows things that could destroy this whole charade, he pronounced, eyes glinting with urgency. Emily, she's not who you think she is. The air chilled, our breaths visible in the shocked silence. I saw David's fists clench as the blood drained from his face. This wasn't just a wedding about love, it had morphed into a theater of horror. Emily shot out of her chair, her face twisted with fury and fear. What are you talking about? You don't know anything about me. Her defiance seemed like a smokescreen, a last-ditch effort to shield whatever dark history she was hiding. The guests murmured again, their whispers bubbling into a boiling overflow of suspicion and dread. I could feel it, the palpable shift among them. They all wanted answers. I wanted answers. But the figure, this furious embodiment of chaos, wasn't backing down. You think the past can be buried? He shouted passionately, stepping closer, his finger still pointed at David. It will always come back, just like I did. Do you really want to chain yourself to her? With every word, the tension escalated, twisting like a knife in my gut. I wanted to scream, to intervene, but my mouth felt dry. The clock ticked loudly, the seconds stretching. David's face twisted with dread and defiance, uncertainty battling within him, a storm brewing just beneath his surface. Enough! Someone finally yelled. It was the wedding planner, trying in vain to restore order amidst the madness. You're not welcome here. We'll be calling the police if you don't leave right this instant. The stranger smirked, his expression darkening. Call them. They'll only bring more questions, more digging into the dirt you all want to ignore. But remember, truth has a way of clawing its way to the surface. With that ominous statement, he stepped back, casting one last baleful look at David before disappearing into the downpour, leaving lingering doubts hanging in the air like the stench of rain and fear. The silence that followed was deafening, drowning us in uncertainty. What truth had he just set in motion? Emily's face was pale, and for the first time, I noticed the quiver in her lip, a glimmer of vulnerability that made the pieces of the puzzle click together. Something was terribly, inevitably wrong, and the wedding was just the beginning of a much darker unraveling. The crowd began to stir, anxious conversations sparking like sparks touching the air. What secrets lay buried beneath that perfect facade? And was there still time to save my son from the truth that was unfolding? The air hung thick, and whispers zipped through the gathering like electricity. I felt a knot tightening in my stomach as David stood at the center of chaos, his eyes darting from Emily to the door through which the stranger had vanished. It was like watching a storm brew just beyond an open window, dark clouds swirling, ready to unleash chaos. David, please, Emily's voice shattered the heavy silence, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. You have to trust me. I love you. Nothing he said makes any sense. But doubt shadowed David's expression, painting it with fear and confusion. You don't understand, he replied, the tremor in his voice betraying his resolve. If there's even a grain of truth in what he said, I have to know. I can't just ignore it. What truth? I breathed, panic squeezing my chest. I had to get to him, but the growing crowd had formed a wall of apprehension, their faces painted with intrigue and horror. Something deep down told me this revelation would change everything. It doesn't matter. Emily shot back, desperation creeping into her tone. And what about you? Do you believe him? After all we've built together? The room crackled, and then someone, a distant relative, I think, spoke up. What did he mean by your past, Emily? You need to tell him the truth before he gets hurt even more. Every gaze turned to her, like moths drawn to a flame. Emily's veneer of strength flickered, and I could see the walls around her crumbling, layer by layer. She opened her mouth, but the words didn't come. Instead, her brow furrowed, a tempest of emotions swirling behind her eyes, rage, sorrow, and something akin to fear. Emily. David said softly, pleading, like he was trying to awaken a dormant hero inside her. Whatever it is, just tell me. I'm not going anywhere without the truth. Her chest heaved, breaths unsteady, and for a fleeting moment, I thought she would crumple under the weight. Then, she did something unexpected. She stepped back and shouted, "You don't know what you're asking for. You think the truth will free you? It will destroy you. It will ruin everything." Gasps shot through the crowd like bullets. Pieces of the atmosphere began to shift, the simple wedding replaced by a web of secrets stretching infinitely into the room. Suddenly, I noticed a woman in the back, her eyes wide, clutching the arms of her chair. She had a look that said she knew more than she was letting on. I leaned closer, desperate for clarity. What do you know?" I whispered, nudging her gently. When she saw my intention, her expression tightened. "He's not the only one with a past, you know? Some things can't just be brushed aside, and Emily is tied to it, just as much as David is," she replied quietly, fear slithering through her words. "What do you mean?" I pressed, my heart racing, needing the pieces to fit together before everything shattered. But she shook her head, eyes darting back to Emily and David as if she feared the repercussions of her words. The crowd's murmurs surged, a wave of unease rippling through them, and in the chaos, someone else shouted, "We need to call the cops. If this is going to get dangerous." "No," Emily snapped, and the firmness in her voice slammed down like a gavel. "You don't understand. It's not what you think." We were teetering on the edge of a catastrophe, and I felt it a truth about to erupt, a past lingering, ready to consume us all. David's face hardened, his hands balled into fists. The room was suffocating, the storm outside a cruel reminder of the turmoil within. Would the truth set David free, or would it swallow him whole? And what hidden nightmare was Emily harboring that could bring everything crashing down? The clock ticked ominously, time was slipping away, and dread tightened its grip. "Do you really want to know, David?" Emily's voice was barely above a whisper now, thick with tears. "Are you ready for the truth?" As she stood there, wrestling with a decision that could destroy or redeem, I braced myself. Was it too late to escape the ramifications of what was about to unfold? The tempest was gathering strength, and I feared nothing would be the same again. The room froze, all eyes locked on Emily as she stood at the precipice of revelation. A palpable tension filled the air, suffocating and electric. "Emily, please just tell me," David urged, his voice low but tinged with desperation. "Whatever it is, we can face it together." She bit down on her lip, trembling, caught in the chaos of unresolved fears and possible heartbreak. Then, as if a dam had broken, she finally spoke, words tumbling out like a flood. "David, there are things in my past that I've tried to forget, things that could destroy us." The weight of her words landed like bricks thrown into the river of silence. Murmurs erupted from the crowd, panic spreading like wildfire. Faces contorted, curious and horrified, as if they were witnessing an imminent train wreck. "What do you mean?" David's face twisted in confusion. "What things? Who are you really, Emily?" The floodlight from the chandelier caught the sheen of Emily's tears, casting ghostly shadows on her face. Before everything, I was involved with someone dangerous. Someone who doesn't just disappear." "Dangerous? Like your ex?" David responded, voice raising with disbelief. "Emily, you can't just drop this on me. What did he do? Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "Because I was terrified, David." She shouted back, anguish carving deep lines across her face. "You don't know what it's like to wake up every day, looking over your shoulder, knowing that your past could come crashing down at any moment. I can't lose you. I want tea." The air thickened with dread. The onlookers seemed to close in, their lips moving with shocked whispers, each word a pitchfork aimed at Emily's heart. She felt exposed, standing there like raw flesh under a merciless sun. "What have I entered?" I muttered to myself, the crowd's anxiety washing over me. Uncertainty fed the whispers. A wall of bewildered relatives now rose to encircle the unfolding drama, a gallery of judgment with sidelong glances and heavy breaths. Suddenly, the woman I had spoken to earlier rushed forward, her expression fierce yet haunted. She seized Emily's arm. You need to stop this. There's more to this story than you're telling him. More than even you understand. More? Emily's voice nearly cracked. She wriggled free from the woman's grip, her cheeks flushed. What do you mean? The tension tightened again, as if someone had stepped on a taut string. Faces shifted, and I felt that same knot in my stomach returning with a vengeance. The woman opened her mouth, silenced by an unseen force. The room waited, bated breath hanging like a heavy fog. Then, the sharp blast of a siren pierced through the tension, echoing in the distance, getting louder, too close for comfort. In an instant, it was like throwing gasoline on a fire. The whispers turned to gasps, panic lighting everyone's eyes. Someone called the cops. I yelled to no one in particular. 1,000 faces turned towards the door, as if on cue. Like dominoes, wedding decorations trembled and shuddered, swaying under an intangible pressure sweeping through the room. Emily. David roared, voice raw and desperate. This is all spiraling out of control. Did you do this? No. She screamed, tears spilling down her cheeks. But they're coming because of the past I cannot escape. And as if in slow motion, the doors swung open, the chilling silhouette of an officer darkening the threshold. Everyone, stay calm. We need to talk to Emily. He called, like an unwelcome guest. Reality crashed in. And it wasn't just about David or Emily anymore, it was about the shadows from their pasts, coming out to play. What had Emily been hiding all along? And were we all about to pay the price for it? As the officer stepped inside, eyes scanning the scene with stoic resolve, a chill slithered down my spine. What had been unleashed? What truth lurked in the folds of those darkened shadows? And would any of us walk away unscathed? Emily, you need to come with me, the officer commanded, stepping forward with an air of authority that seemed to drain the color from David's face. No. Please. Emily gasped, retreating into David as if he could shield her from the inevitable. I can explain. The officer's gaze hardened. You can explain at the station. This isn't just a casual chat. The room erupted into chaos, voices overlapping in a cacophony of confusion. Guests shifted uneasily, eyes darting from David to Emily, and now to the looming figure of the officer. A woman near the back shouted, "What's going on? Why are the police here?" Because of her. David blasted, anger carving deep lines into his forehead. It felt like he was losing control, not just of the moment, but of everything he thought he knew about her. Stop it. Emily pleaded, her voice strained. You don't understand. I'm not who you think I am. As more officers appeared at the door, their uniforms stark against the elegant backdrop of the wedding venue, the scene grew more surreal. This isn't how a wedding was supposed to go. This wasn't how love stories ended. Tell me the truth, Emily, David implored, desperation etching his voice with pain. What did you do? The graying woman from before stepped closer, her eyes aflame with urgency. They're not here for nothing. You need to listen. Your past is here, Emily. It knows you're here. What does that mean? Emily quivered, forced to meet the furious gaze of the woman. What are you talking about? Before she could respond, a figure appeared in the doorway behind the police. It was tall, shrouded in darkness, but the outline felt achingly familiar. My heart raced as recognition crept over me, a feeling that twisted deep in my gut. Emily, the figure said, voice smooth yet carrying an edge that sent a ripple through the crowd. You thought you could leave it all behind, didn't you? With a gasp, Emily took a step back, her eyes widening in terror. No, it can't be. Who is that? Someone from the crowd whispered, fear clawing at the edges of their voice. That's Rick, Emily breathed, looking more helpless than I had ever seen. My past. David's face twisted in disbelief. So it's true? You've been lying to me all this time? His voice carried a weight that threatened to crush the air in the room, leaving everyone breathless. Listen, please. Emily shouted, desperation bubbling to the surface. I never wanted any of this. I was hoping to be free from him. Free? Rick spat, stepping closer into the light, a smirk playing on his lips. You think you can be free from me? You brought this on yourself, sweetheart. Gasps fluttered through the guests like a flock of startled birds as realization dawned. Rick wasn't just anyone, he was the threat Emily had feared, the dark ghost haunting her past. Let's talk about who you've become, Rick continued, the menace in his tone slicing through the thick tension. Let's talk about all the things you've done to hide from me. The atmosphere thickened with dread as Emily's face twisted in agony. You're not supposed to be here. I thought you were gone. The officer shifted, tension rising as he prepared to intervene. But the whispers swelled, swirling through the crowd like a vicious storm, the fear palpable. Lost in the chaos, I felt a surge of questions. What would happen next? Would anyone escape his grasp? Would Emily's secret become the death knell for everything she held dear? Before I could ponder further, an unexpected sound echoed from the back. A loud crack, followed by the unmistakable sound of glass shattering. I whipped around to see a figure emerging from the shadows, eyes blazing with fury. Enough! They yelled, voice vibrating with authority. This ends now. Once more, the room fell silent, all eyes turning to confront the new storm brewing. And in that moment, I realized, the truth was about to collide with the lies. What would reveal itself in that decisive moment? The tension hung in the air like thick smoke, suffocating and electric. Everyone froze in a tableau of shock, eyes wide and ears perked up, straining to catch every hushed breath. The newcomer stepped forward, the light catching a glint of steel in their eyes. It was a woman, tall and fierce, with a voice that commanded respect and fear all at once. Who the hell are you? Rick sneered, narrowing his eyes at the unexpected interruption. I'm Rachel, she shot back, her posture unyielding. And you're in the wrong place. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Rachel stepped forward, unflinching, the weight of her words hanging like a chisel ready to crack the ice. You think you can threaten Emily here? You think she's alone? You think we'll let you take her back into that darkness? Emily's eyes darted between Rick and Rachel, like a tennis match she couldn't influence. You can't be here, she stammered, disbelief etched on her face. This isn't your fight, Rachel. Oh, you're wrong, Rachel said, her voice steely. This is every woman's fight against a monster like him. I've waited too long to let you go again. David stood frozen, grappling with the chaos unfolding before him. Everything he thought he understood was unraveling Emily's past, her secrets, and now this collision in front of him. He felt a lump swell in his throat as he watched Rachel step closer to Emily, protectiveness oozing from her presence. Emily, take my hand, Rachel urged, extending her arm. We need to get out of here. Emily hesitated, torn between the two worlds melding into one. Her past loomed before her like an ominous shadow, yet a flicker of hope ignited within her. Could she trust Rachel? Could she really escape Rick's suffocating grip? Don't touch her. Rick bellowed, and the word her dripped with venom. His focus intensified on Rachel as he lunged forward, his massive frame a stark contrast to Rachel's fierceness. You don't know what you're getting into. But Rachel didn't flinch. Oh, I know exactly what I'm getting into. And you won't control her life anymore. Chaos erupted as the crowd suddenly surged forward, some guests stepping in to form a barrier, drawn into the battle of wills. David felt a sense of desperation clawing at him as he spun toward Emily, searching her face for some sign, a flicker of agreement, a hint of bravery. Emily, please. Emily took a deep breath, the weight of the world pressing down on her shoulders. I will not go back with you. She screamed, her voice breaking through the storm of noise surrounding them. You don't scare me anymore. At her declaration, dread swept through Rick, his face white-hot with fury. You think you can just walk away? You don't even know what I'll do. I always get what I want. And you 1T have me. She shot back, resolve hardening her features. Their eyes locked, and in that moment, the atmosphere shifted. It was no longer just about revealing the past, it was a fight for freedom, for selfhood. Before Rick could respond, the police officer seized the moment. Enough! He shouted, his voice booming through the fractured air. You all need to calm down. We will handle this. The intensity of his words pierced through the rising cacophony, forcing silence back into the scene, but then a figure crashed through the side entry, another shadow breaking through the brewing storm. This time, it wasn't just Rick who had company, the chaos had attracted another player. A man, rugged and wild-eyed, stepped into view, disrupting the fragile balance that hung in the air. What is happening here? He roared, eyes sweeping over the crowd until they locked onto Emily. A strange recognition flickered in his gaze. At that moment, Emily's heart raced. Who was this new player in her burgeoning nightmare? And what role did he play in the twisted tapestry of her past? As the room became a swirling vortex of uncertainty, a question loomed larger than all. Would they finally uncover the truth, or would the past consume them all? Emily's heart pounded in her chest as she stared at the newcomer. Recognition flickered in his eyes, a flicker that sent shivers down her spine. Who was he? Why did he look as if he knew her? The chaos around her seemed to fade into a dull roar, her focus solely on the man whose presence reeked of unresolved history. Emily! He shouted, taking a step forward, a wild urgency in his voice. You need to listen to me. They're coming for you. Rick pushed through the crowd, his anger palpable, like a fire threatening to engulf everything in its wake. Don't you dare talk to her, you piece of trash. He directed his fury toward the man. You have no right. Rachel, catching the tension, began to move toward the newcomer, her fierce defensive energy still potent. Stay back, Rick, she warned, her tone sharp as glass. This isn't just about you anymore. David stood rooted in place, a whirlwind of emotions battling within him. Fear for Emily, confusion over this man, and an aching in his chest that he couldn't quite place. Was this a protector or another predator? The man was relentless, eyes locked on Emily. You don't know the half of it. The past is darker than you remember, and it's not over, not by a long shot. A gasp swept through the crowd, whispers spiraling like smoke. The stakes were rising. Rick's countenance twisted with rage, a man possessed. You want to threaten her in front of all of us? You think you can worm your way into her life again? With unwavering resolve, Emily placed her hand over her heart, feeling the thudding rhythm echo her fear. Who are you? She demanded, her voice trembling yet steady. Do you even know what you're bringing back? I'm the one who tried to save you. He shouted as if that revelation could condense their tangled past into something coherent. You need to trust me. There are things you don't remember, things that could endanger you now. Something shifted in Emily's expression, a mix of anger and disbelief etched across her features. You think I trust you after everything? You vanished without a trace. David glanced between them, the tension tightening in his throat. What had been done to Emily? Was this man part of the very memories she fought to forget? But Rick wasn't willing to let this go. Get away from her. You're nothing but a reminder of her failures, of the weakness she's trying to escape. Rachel locked eyes with Emily, her expression fierce and protective. You're strong, Emily. This isn't about your past holding you back. It's about breaking free from the chains they've kept you in. Suddenly, the sound of sirens echoed outside, the unmistakable chorus of flashing lights spilling through the windows. The tension in the room skyrocketed. Damn it, they're here, Rick hissed, a flicker of fear crossing his face. As if responding to the impending arrival of law enforcement, the rugged man took a step back but remained fixated on Emily. You have to decide now. Stay and confront this monster, or run with me. But know this, Emily, whichever path you choose could change everything. Her breath caught in her throat as she weighed her options. This was at the moment that could redefine her future, yet the shadows of the past loomed overhead like dark clouds. Would she stand and fight against the familiar darkness, or U-turn toward the unknown with this man who claimed to bear secrets she'd long buried? Tension crackled, thick as a wire ready to snap. And no one, least of all Emily, knew what would unfold next. As the door burst open and police entered, their voices thick with authority, the question hung, electrifying the air: would she find the courage to face her demons, or would she let fear lead her astray once more? The room erupted in chaos as the police flooded in, their sharp commands slicing through the tense atmosphere. Blue and red lights flickered like angry fireflies, illuminating faces twisted in fear and anger. Emily's heart raced, caught between the man who bore her past and the squall of sirens heralding a new kind of freedom or entrapment. Everybody calm down. An officer barked, his voice firm, slicing through the tumult. He was built like a wall, and his presence commanded immediate attention. Behind him, two other officers briskly scanned the room, their hands poised near their belts as they assessed the situation. Rick's face twisted in panic. "Emily, don't talk to him. You don't know what he's capable of," he shouted, his fury mixed with desperation. The man stepped closer, his eyes piercing through the chaos, revealing a haunted intensity that drew Emily in against her will. "Listen to me, please," he urged again, urgency pouring from him. "You don't have to do this alone. The people after you, they don't want to just silence your past. They want to erase everything about you." Emily felt the ground shift beneath her, a churning mixture of disbelief and sudden dread. Erase? What did he mean? She could hardly breathe, winded by the weight of the truth swirling around her. Who was really after her? Was it just this stranger, or something more sinister? As she tried to process it all, Rachel squeezed Emily's shoulder. "Just breathe. You're strong, remember that." But her voice shook, the fear evident beneath her comforting facade. David, watching their interaction, wrestled with his instincts, torn between protecting Emily and trusting her decisions. "Officer, you need to arrest him," Rick barked, pointing at the rugged man. "He's dangerous. He's been stalking her." The officer raised an eyebrow, skepticism simmering in his expression. "Calm down, sir. We need to hear everyone's side first." At that moment, Emily felt a rush of clarity. "Wait." Her own voice surprised her, cutting through the noise. All eyes turned to her, waiting. She took a deep breath, steadied herself, and faced the man who had thrown her world into disarray. "What do you know? What are you talking about?" He stepped back again, recognizing the weight of her question. "What happened to you back then? It wasn't just an accident. They've been watching. They know you're here now." Emily felt as if the walls were closing in. She could smell the stale popcorn from the last event at this venue, blending with the sharp scent of fear in the air. I don't remember." The frustration bubbled inside her, but his steady gaze kept her grounded. "No, but you must," he pressed softly. "Whatever you think you've forgotten, it's coming back to haunt you. You've been marked, Emily." A chill swept through her, and goosebumps erupted on her arms. The gravity of his words hung like a heavy fog, thickening in the air. As she glanced around, the crowd shifted uneasily, absorbing the weight of their implications. Just then, the room darkened further as the police officer shifted his attention, calling over to another officer outside. "Get a crowd control team in here. We need this under control now." Rick took a menacing step towards the stranger. "You're not welcome here. You've hurt her before. You'll hurt her again." Tension hung thick, threatening to snap as Emily felt the walls of her world closing in. Decisions whirled in her mind, the reverberating question ricocheting within her: did she dare trust this man with secrets of her past? The sirens echoed outside, closing in like ghosts moving too fast for comfort. Time slipped away as she fought to choose. As the officer moved to detain the man, he looked straight at her and whispered fiercely, "Choose wisely. They're watching." Emily felt the eyes of everyone in that room poised on her. The choice lay within her: the past or an uncertain future. But the urgency pressed down on her, a ticking clock she couldn't ignore as the dance of fate began. What would she decide? Would she protect herself from the monsters lurking in the shadows she couldn't yet comprehend? The question hung in the air, unrelenting, as the atmosphere shifted again, pulsing with something dark and inevitable. Emily's heart hammered, caught between the weight of reality and the pull of her buried truth. Would she confront it, or would she turn her back, hoping the storm would pass? The gravity of her decision loomed overhead, and in the fractured silence that followed, a new danger emerged, making her realize everything was about to change. The air in the room crackled with tension, a palpable force that pressed against Emily's chest like an iron weight. She felt the eyes of the crowd flicking between her and the man who claimed to know her past. Rick's accusations hung in the air, thickening the atmosphere, each heartbeat echoing louder than the last. "Emily, please. You can't trust him." Rick's voice rose in pitch, his panic spilling over, but Emily felt an unexpected strength rising within her. The world around her spun in chaos, but her focus narrowed on the stranger, the only puzzle piece that could connect her fractured memories. "What are you talking about?" she demanded, the strength in her voice surprising even herself. The man took a tentative step closer, his hands raised in a placating gesture. "You need to remember they're coming for you. They've been waiting." His voice was low, almost conspiratorial, weaving through the increasing din of the room. "Oh, come on," Rick snapped, his frustration boiling over. "This is ridiculous. He's playing you, Emily. Just look at him." Emily's gaze flicked to Rick, then back to the man. Fragments of memories began to hover at the edge of her consciousness, elusive and blurry. Shadows of a time long buried, filled with whispers and hidden truths. "Why should I believe you?" She took a step back, heart thumping in her chest, every instinct screaming to shield herself from potential harm. "Because your life depends on it," he responded, his eyes desperate. A flash of uncertainty squeezed her heart. Did this stranger really know something that could change everything? The crowd around her shifted, murmurs rippling through the throng, and she could hear the faint sounds of distant sirens echoing, growing louder. An officer stepped forward, arms crossed, his brow furrowed in thought. "All right, let us settle this. Everyone clear the area. Emily, come with me." "No," Emily exclaimed, feeling the warmth of panic seep into her bones. "I need answers. I can't leave until I understand." "Emily," Rachel chimed in, her voice softer, trying to reach her friend through the storm. "We can't let this go on. You have to let them handle it." Yet, Emily felt rooted to the spot, torn between the sirens screaming for order and the chaos that lay in her muddled memories. As the officer moved to grab the stranger, a wave of instinct surged through her. "Wait!" she shouted, drawing everyone's attention, her voice cracking under the pressure. "If he's telling the truth, if I really am in danger, maybe I do need him." Rick's face turned red with anger, disbelief painted across his features. "You can't be serious. He's the reason you're in this mess in the first place." "No," she hesitated, glancing again at the man who wore the burden of her past in his gaze. "Maybe he's the only one who can help me remember." Suddenly, the lights flickered as a commotion erupted outside the venue, a cacophony of shouts and crashing sounds. The police officers exchanged worried glances, their commanding shrieks now drowned out by the chaos looming just outside. "Stay here," one officer ordered as he rushed towards the exit, his hand on his weapon. In the rush of unfolding events, Emily felt the stranger grasp her wrist gently, his grip steady yet urgent. "It's time to choose, Emily. The truth can set you free, but it can also put you in danger. Trust me, but act fast." Her breath hitched, uncertainty flooding her veins. The choice lay before her like a chasm, steep and dark. Every instinct told her to retreat to safety, yet something deeper tugged at her, a desperate need to uncover what lay hidden With the room swirling into disarray, Emily met the man's gaze, grappling with her conflicting emotions. What if I can't handle the truth? His expression softened, the weight of his past clearly visible. What if that truth is the only way to protect yourself from what's coming? The urgency blared louder now, drowning out her fear. Emily saw shadows moving outside, figures lurking just out of sight. The danger was real, pressing in as she faced the unknown. In that charged moment, her decision crystallized, the crisp clarity of her choice cutting through the noise of her chaotic thoughts. But just as she opened her mouth to speak, the sirens fractured the calm, and a voice rang out, desperate and unfamiliar, "We need to evacuate now." "They're here." The weight of the moment slammed into her. The haunted past was breaking through the present, and she realized that her decision could very well usher in a reckoning she wasn't prepared for. The chaos crescendoed, each shout a ripple in the fabric of Emily's reality. She stood at a crossroads, heart thrumming like a drum, unsure of what awaited her. The sirens blared outside, an angry orchestra playing her fate. David's eyes pierced through the haze, filled with pain and fear. "Emily. Don't let them take you." She tore her gaze from David, the weight of the stranger's presence grounding her, breathing new life into her resolve. "Listen," she urged, voice cracking. "If what he says is true, I can't let my past dictate my future. I need to confront it." "Emily, no." Rick shouted, his face twisted in fury and desperation. "You don't know what you're inviting back. You're still just a plaything to him." "Stop." A uniformed officer barked, stepping between Rick and Emily, eyes hardened with authority. "This isn't helping. We need to figure this out now, but I need every one of you to step back." The stranger leaned in closer, his voice low and urgent. "Emily, trust me. There's something dark that's coming for you. If you walk out of here with him, you might never know the truth, or worse, never be free." The tension in the room weighed heavy, the sense of urgency almost palpable. Rachel stepped forward, chin lifted defiantly. "She needs to make her own choice. You don't get to decide for her." Emily felt the storm within her converge into clarity. The past had haunted her for too long. "I need to face this," she shouted, her voice cutting through the noise. She turned to David, her heart screaming for him to understand, "I can't keep running. I won't let fear hold me hostage anymore." David staggered forward, pleading eyes locked onto hers. "But what if you can't handle it? What if it destroys you?" "Sometimes the truth hurts, but it's the only path to freedom," she replied, steadfast. "I need you by my side, David. Will you trust me?" He paused, the weight of her request heavy in the air. Finally, he nodded, resolve building within him. "I'll stay with you, no matter what." The rugged man smiled, a flicker of hope igniting in his expression. "There's a reason I came back. To protect you." And then, the uniforms snapped to attention as the buzzing commotion drifted closer. "We need to evacuate everyone now." A police officer's voice pierced the chaos, rising above the cacophony. "Time is short." Rick's desperation morphed into a feral urgency. "You want to get her? I want to let you." "Enough," Emily shouted, trembling but undeterred. "I will face this. I will face you. Fate won't let you run free, Emily." Rick lashed out, his frustration turning to menace as he lunged toward her. But before he could reach her, the police surged forward, detaining Rick in a flurry of uniforms. Emily's heart raced as their movements created a wall, both a shield and a swift barrier between her past and her future. "Let us get her outside," an officer yelled, and the crowd started to part, faces awash with awe, confusion, and anxiety. Emily turned to the stranger and Rachel, determination flickering in her throat. "Let us go. Whatever unfolds, I'm ready." "Stay close to me, Deborah," the fierce voice from before insisted, joining them as they moved forward. Moments stretched into eternity, the retreat revealing light ahead, a stark contrast to the darkness that had filled her mind. Outside, the storm had subsided, the air crisp yet charged with energy. As they stepped into the open air, the flashing lights bled together, creating a surreal blanket of uncertainty. A crowd of officers stood ready, and her breath hitched at the sight of them. "Emily," one officer called, stepping forward, his voice steady. "You're safe now. We'll handle this." Yet even as she stepped into safety, her heart pounded with the specter of her past, echoing warnings within her. What if they won't let him go? What if it's not finished? But then she grasped David's hand tightly, feeling the warmth of his commitment grounding her. "Whatever happens, we'll uncover the truth together." The realization of community swept around her as Rachel and the stranger joined their side, solidarity igniting within them all. "Look, we'll find a way to make sense of all of this. We're in it together," Rachel reassured her. As the officers organized the scene behind, Emily felt lighter, her burdens slowly lifting. There would be struggles ahead, but she wouldn't face them alone. With resolve solidified, she began to walk towards the waiting officers. "I'll face whatever comes. I'll embrace the truth," she declared, spirit unfurling like a banner in the storm. As Emily steadied herself, casting one last glance back at her past, she felt a surge of empowerment. "This is my life now. I am unstoppable." And as the sirens faded into the distance, it was clear, she had finally stepped into her own light, ready to face the world head-on. It was just the beginning of who she was meant to be. And before the screen fades to black, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait a single second, or you might miss out on the next exclusive stories that will drop next. Smash that like button now. Feed the algorithm so everyone can join in on these wild narratives. Flood the comments section with your theories and reactions to this intense conclusion. And don't forget, share this video with at least 5 friends who have to see the outcome of this roller coaster ride. This is the moment to show your support.